Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 336 for March 19th, 2024. Happy first day of spring, everybody. I am your host, Randy Snow. On this week's show, we take a look back at some of the news that we missed over the past 4 weeks while we were on hiatus, including lots of player moves. The UFL announced its site for the championship game, and we have scores from the National Arena League, American Indoor Football, the Indoor Football League, and Liga de Futbol Americano Profesional, or as we like to call it, the LFA. But I'm not here all by myself. Across the table from me, as always, is my son Adam.
I hope everybody else enjoyed their break because, spoiler alert, Randy did because he didn't do squat around here like he said he would.
I cleaned up this man cave quite a bit. It doesn't look like it to you. You haven't set foot here in the man cave for 4 weeks.
So I'm looking around. I see maybe 30% more carpet than there used to be.
Well, that's 30%.
Because all the junk is now pushed into the other part of the room there.
Uh-huh.
And then our new microphones I bought for us
still cannot
still
get
are
them to
not
work.
working, and you had 4 weeks to figure it out. And
it is beyond me. I cannot figure out these. They just will not work with our equipment.
All I know is you had 4 weeks to do it. I'll even give you 3 because you went down to Florida and had a nice little vacation.
And then after we got back, your mom and I have been sick for the past week or more.
That's not an excuse.
So, yeah.
When I'm sick, I'm still working on stuff. Like a true content creator on the internet.
But no, your mom and I went down to Florida.
Yes,
We went to
you did.
Disney World. We went to Universal Studios. We went to Cape Kennedy. We went to SeaWorld. We went to Disney Springs.
How many graves did you visit during that
None.
time?
We
Wow.
saw no, unless you count the graveyard at the haunted house at Disney World.
Haunted Mansion. Yeah.
But what did you do the last 4 weeks?
Oh, gee, I don't know. Worked on my other YouTube projects.
Yeah, so you did some movie reviews on your other
still
channel.
doing the movies. There was no time off for me. Are you kidding me?
No.
It's been 4 weeks of me still grinding away. I don't know what it means to have a break anymore between my actual work and then all this side stuff I love doing here. Like, I ain't got time.
No,
I ain't got time to sleep.
I did take some time off. It was really good to get away from everything and everybody.
So my vacation doesn't come till this weekend. I'm actually taking a weekend off for a change and going out of town. So
a whole weekend.
A whole weekend. A Friday through a Sunday.
All right. Well, I guess we've run that enough.
Oh, gee. Why that weekend, you ask? Gee, maybe because it's my birthday this weekend. Thanks a lot, Dad, for remembering.
Oh, I've forgotten.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We come to you each week from the fabulous World of Football Man Cave, which is now clean.
No.
Located right here in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football. All this while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms: Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast. We also have timestamps down in the descriptions of both the podcast and many of our YouTube videos, so you can go right to the topics you really want to listen to. You can also find our podcast in its full audio form on our YouTube channel. Just search for the World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle at the World of Football in the YouTube search bar. You will find many other selected videos on our YouTube channel, like our 4 Black History Month history lessons that we did this past month, profiling players like Bernie Custis, Warren Moon, Duke Slater, and Emlyn Tunnell. We also did an interview with author Mike Richman, author of the book George Allen, A Football Life. So that's just a few things you'll find on our YouTube channel, as well as a bunch of other travelogues and travel.
We'll have a new Just Lying Around coming out today or tomorrow.
Oh, really?
We're talking Lions free agency, so
Okay.
be on the lookout for that.
Okay.
Yeah, again, I'm busy.
So,
And before we get going, I do want to mention, you barely glossed over your trip. As I see in your clean room, in quotes,
yeah,
you got your nice little caricature here. I know this is great
did.
for audio, but
I sat
I'm
for a
going to have to post this
caricature
picture somewhere.
when we were at SeaWorld in Orlando. Sat down for a caricature, and he drew me carrying a football. I'm in a football uniform, crossing the goal line. I got the ball under my arm, and
Without a helmet on, you're gonna
without a helmet
Get a
on.
concussion.
I think I kind of look like Fred Flintstone. A little bit.
I see it. It looks like Fred Flintstone. Yeah.
But I thought it was kind of cool. The guy was kind of sitting there not doing a whole lot, so I just waited for him to be done and told him what I wanted, and that's what he came up with, and I thought it was pretty good.
It's a pretty good one. Yeah, you got to post that somewhere. I thought you'd be bragging about it.
Maybe I'll post that after we post the this podcast.
There you go. Be on the lookout for it on all the socials. Randy will post the picture.
All right. Well, let's begin today's show with some of the stories that happened while we were off the past 4 weeks. So we've got a whole month's worth of news to fit into one show, and we're going to start in the NFL. And the very first thing I wrote down was something that happened right after the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, real quick too. I mean, you only wrote down so much because you barely had time to work on microphones. So how could you have time to?
I've been sick the last week.
How could you have time to fill in every possible news story we missed? So I'm also going to try to fill in the gaps with some of the other free agency moves that you didn't write down. That you didn't think
just
were
hit a lot
important.
of the highlights. I didn't want to do everything.
Well, you missed so many big ones, I think, but we'll get to them as we go through this.
But the first story I have is that one person was killed and 22 injured in a shooting that took place after the Chiefs' victory parade following Super Bowl 58.
It was terrible.
This was unbelievable, and it sounds like it wasn't even, it was just an argument between a couple of different people in the crowd. It wasn't pointed at the players or
it wasn't like premeditated.
Yeah, it was a personal squabble, I guess, between several people.
It's just dumb. Like that when that whole thing went down, I was like, I don't know. I was like, I'm kind of glad we don't have to do a show on it this week because it was all so fresh. But man, like, it's just dumb.
Yeah,
it's just dumb fans.
Yep. There's always some in every crowd, I guess. Let's see. The NFL salary cap for 2024 is going to increase to $255.4 million, and that's up $31 million from last year. I think that's one of the biggest increases from one year to another that I've seen in a long, long time.
Yeah, I think that is the biggest jump they've had.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, I got nothing else. It's just more millionaires with more money to play with.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
But hey, look, I know that's changing, but the NFL landscape is filled with so much that just doesn't change. Like the fact that Jason Kelsey's coming back next season. To play with the Eagles again, I'm looking very forward to that.
Oh, you didn't see the next story then, obviously.
What?
Jason Kelsey officially retires after 13 seasons, all with the Eagles, and a Super Bowl ring.
Son of a gun. I mean, I guess he'll have more time now to do his podcast, which is what everybody loves. If you haven't had a chance to check that out yet, I mean, he's great. He's a great personality. I think he's got a bright future doing anything else outside of football. Whatever he wants to, quite frankly. This dude is just crushing at life, being a great dad. I still want to check out that documentary about him on Amazon called Kelsey. I've heard nothing but great stuff. It came out a while ago. Apparently it's really good. Shows him being a father and just being a Philly sports icon, and sounded interesting. But okay, so he retired. Look, at least we have some great Hall of Fame type players still playing out there, like an Aaron Donald. I'm looking forward to seeing him. What do the Rams and what does he do as far as
once again, son,
what?
You are mistaken.
Oh, my gosh.
Rams defensive tackle Aaron Donald announced his retirement after 10 seasons, all with the Rams.
Oh, no.
The first 2 were in St. Louis. The rest were in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And, of course, a Super Bowl ring for him as well.
A little bit of a surprise.
It is.
But I thought, he flirted with this after they won the Super Bowl a couple years ago.
Right.
So
I'm actually surprised he came back for another season after winning the Super Bowl ring. I thought that was going to be it for him.
But I thought that with the way, even though the Rams lost in the playoffs to our beloved Detroit Lions, I thought that Rams team, they improved over the second half of that season, that maybe they did have a bright future going into this next season, that maybe that would, keep them around for another year, but I guess not.
Nope. Some news close to home, Lions GM Brad Holmes and head coach Dan Campbell have signed contract extensions through 2027. That does my heart good.
It pleasantly surprised because when they first signed those deals, I think it was weird. Like, wasn't Campbell had like a 6-year contract, but then Brad Holmes had like a shorter term. It was weird because they weren't lined up one way or the other. They weren't lined up exactly. But now I think they locked them both up through the same year, which I think is great. They clearly they've improved every year.
Yep.
Now that they've been to the NFC Championship game, how do they improve next year? I think that'll be a thing that a lot of people look at. And can they sustain what they built? Mm-hmm. And it's always been their goal to sustain what they build and keep going. So
I think they will.
I think they will too, but I just think for the first time in a long time, probably not since the Wayne Fonseca era, have we seen this type of dedication to a coach. I couldn't even tell you who their GM was at that time. I didn't know any Lions GM till, and forgive me for saying this name out loud, Matt Millen came around.
Well, Russ Thomas was the GM of the Lions for many, many years, and a lot of people said that he was the reason the Lions never won anything because he was more into penny pinching dollars and not wanting to spend money on players. He was all about turning a profit for the team and for Mr. Ford. And so, when he finally left, a lot of people were very relieved that maybe now the team will actually spend on some players.
How did that work out for us? But seriously, and they even one name that kind of got forgotten in this announcement was also assistant to the owner.
Chris Spielman?
Chris Spielman getting an extension too. So good for him. I think that whole nucleus under Sheila has been phenomenal, and it's something us Lions fans have been wanting for years, is this kind of stability, and it's great to see. I think that Lions front office has been one of the league's best front offices for the last few years, and now that the product on the field is actually showing.
Right.
I think a lot of more people are going to be looking at our organization, and I'm not going to say we're going to get coaching trees out of this, like the Dan Campbell coaching tree or the Brad Holmes, people he's hired in the front office. I think it just shows that we are finally a stable and competent organization from the top down, which we've had issues with for a few decades.
Well, I said all last season that I honestly felt that this team was good enough to win every game on their schedule, and I've never felt like that. Yeah. I would say, oh, we're never going to beat that team this year, or this, we're going to lose to them. Yeah, we could probably beat these guys, but we can't beat those guys. We're just not that good. Right. I legitimately felt this past season that when they took the field, they had the ability to beat anybody. Yeah. And I've never ever felt that way.
It extends from those two guys.
49 years of following the team. Yep. Another story that really surprised me, this came out of nowhere a few days ago. Good Morning Football is moving to Los Angeles from New York. No word on if any of the 4 members of the show will be moving to L.A. And I heard the members of the show did not hear about it until just before they made the official announcement. So this was not anything they coordinated with the people on the show. So what does that tell you? That the NFL wants it in Los Angeles, so by God, they're going to do it, regardless of whether these people stick with them or not. Or they'll just hire all new people.
I guess they just think they can plug anybody in there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know where their actual base of operations is. Clearly, it's New York if they've been doing this morning show every day.
Right, yeah, they've been doing it there for.
It would make sense, though, to move it to L.A. just for doing it that early because, well, actually, even then, if you're trying to do it for the East Coast, you're still getting up at 3 a.m. on the West Coast just to do a 6 a.m. So I don't get how that's going to work for them, if I'm honest with you.
I have never been a fan of Good Morning Football.
It's got its moments.
I've always felt that it was more fluff than anything else, not a lot of, the hard news. And they always talked about, just the core of teams. Always talk about the Patriots, the Packers, or the Jets when they were there. And they hardly ever talked about the Lions.
Well, that's not true. I see a lot of Lions clips nowadays.
Well, now, yeah, but just for years, I would watch.
Well, you got to get good. That's why people want to talk about you.
But they did say that their ratings have been the best this past year, and all of a sudden now they're going to move it to Los Angeles, and so I don't get it.
Yeah.
That they didn't even tell the people that were on the show who make the show that this is what we're going to do. We're going to move you there. If you want to come, fine. If not, see you. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, we'll have to see because I thought I like Kyle Brandt on that show. I like Peter Schrager, and I forget the other two on the show, but because they replaced Kay Adams, and Kay Adams was one of the best parts of that show at one point. And her replacement, I thought, has done a great job too. Yes. I've liked her.
Yes.
So they've always had a good cast, but they also will rotate some guys in and out. But we'll see. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I do like seeing when I see the clips, like, oh, they talk Lions. Let me see what they said. Like to me, they're more of like a clip show where like there's so much fluff. At least every once in a while, you'll get the clip later on, like, oh, they talked to this guy or they interviewed this guy. Because I think there's a place in the world of football, pun intended, for that kind of fun stuff. Kind of like us. Maybe they should give us a call. Yeah. I could do a football morning show.
You want to move to L.A.?
Nope. Deal with that traffic? No, thank you.
Okay.
I don't want that in my contract.
Yeah, I've been to L.A. before. It's different. Been to L.A., but I've never been to New York, and I have no desire to go to New York.
I've never been to either, so.
Let's see. ESPN broadcaster Chris Mortensen passed away.
That
was a
one
big
sucked.
shock.
Nah, I mean he's been dealing with health issues.
True.
But man, it just stinks. You see
he's been there so
legend
long, and you just
ESPN.
expect to see him there all the time, breaking in with some sort of news or something for ESPN. It just felt like he was always going to be there, and we're going to have more on him in our obituary section. But just a terrible shock and a terrible loss.
That was a bummer to see.
Yeah,
because then all his like commercials resurfaced from when he was doing all those old Sports Center commercials. A couple of those popped up and it made me smile.
Yeah. Let's see. A new show on Netflix, docuseries called Receiver, from the same people that brought you the show Quarterback.
Which we'd heard rumblings about earlier this year, but haven't heard much on.
Yep. And it's going to feature 4 wide receivers, Devontae Adams.
5 wide receivers and a tight end.
Oh, well. Devontae Adams from Las Vegas, Justin Jefferson from Minnesota, George Kittle from San Francisco, Deebo Samuels from San Francisco, and Amon-Ra St. Brown of Detroit.
Yep.
That's the one I'm really looking forward to seeing.
I remember months ago when we talked about Amon-Ra. He was the first and only name that I had heard about this series at all. But so to see, like when they posted all the posters today, I was like, oh, they got Devontae Adams. Oh, they got Justin Jefferson and George Kittle. Kittle surprised me because he's a tight end, but he's tight ends are receivers. Let's just get around that. And Deebo Samuel, who another great receiver. So I was like, they got a good crop of receivers for whatever this is. And now they're going with 5 instead of quarterback, who went with 3. So it'll be interesting to see how they balance it out, because we had issues with some of the structure of the quarterback, and it became because Patrick Mahomes made it to the Super Bowl, it became the further it went along, it was the Patrick Mahomes show, and we lost Kirk Cousins and all of them.
Right.
But with 5 wide receivers and a pair of them being on the same team, that should be interesting to kind of follow and bounce around with. And, the farthest, Kittle, Samuel, and Amon-Ra went the farthest in the playoffs, and they played against each other, or their teams did. So at least then you'll have some crossover there. Devontae Adams and Justin Jefferson had very different seasons dealing with similar quarterback issues, so that might be interesting to see.
Right.
So I don't know. We'll see how they handle this. It's by NFL Films, and they always do a good job. I mean, even with their mediocre stuff, at least you can sit there and go and find some gems out of it. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah. Right now, no official date has been set for the release of this. They just said later on this fall. I'll bet it'll be just before the regular season starts.
Yeah, that's about what they did with quarterback. But but we're still waiting to hear about quarterback season 2, because the only name we know about for sure is Matt Stafford being one of the quarterbacks for that. We just don't know the other ones yet. So I'm wondering if that announcement's coming soon.
Jared Goff.
I don't think. I feel like we would have heard about it. If we heard about Amon-Ra, I feel like we would have heard about Jared Goff being one of the other ones.
We'll see.
But we'll see.
Now you're going to have to follow me on this, because now we're going to get into some of the moves, player moves in the NFL that have happened.
There's so much. This is where give Randy some slack. He only wrote the 2 names that he knows that are still in the NFL. I have some stuff up that I will try to also throw out there of some big transactions, but again, we don't want the show to run 3 hours long, so we'll try to be quick.
We don't want to do everything, but I hit some of the highlights as they happen, and I made notes on the script here.
But hey, look, all I know is as long as Russell Wilson is still a member of the Denver Broncos, and I think if they give him another shot to, run it back.
Why don't you just sit back and shut up, because you're not going to like what I have to say here.
What?
Quarterback Russell Wilson goes from Denver to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh my gosh.
The Steelers also acquired Bears quarterback Justin Fields, who was traded to the Steelers for a 6th-round pick in 2025, or a 4th-round pick if he plays 51% of the snaps this season. The Steelers will pay less than $4.5 million this season for both Wilson and Fields. I think
what a situation.
I think Russell Wilson, I think, signed a 1-year contract for just a couple million.
Yeah, but he's still getting paid all that money from Denver. Denver's still sending him like $30-something million. It's a whole thing. If you want a really fun breakdown of this, I have no skin in the game for this plug, but go check out That's Good Sports on YouTube. He's a big Denver Broncos fan. He works with a guy that we like in the Green Bay.
Yeah, I can't think of his name.
Not oh my God, why am I blanking on Tom Grossi?
Tom Grossi, yeah.
He's another one of those football YouTubers that's great. But so this guy, Perna is his last name. I forget his first name. But he big Broncos fan, but he does a great breakdown of a lot of this stuff and the trades and going in depth on a lot of this. And this situation here with Russell Wilson, and then on top of the Bears getting rid of Justin Fields and what they got for him, but they also let Justin Fields pick the Steelers. So Fields got to have a say in that. And it's just what a bonkers off season we've had so far.
Oh yeah, and
we're not even done yet.
Yeah, and speaking of the Steelers, Kenny Pickett was traded to the Eagles for a 3rd-round pick in the 2024 draft and 2 7th-round picks in 2025. So they get rid of their starter Kenny Pickett and they bring in these other 2 guys, Wilson and Fields.
Yeah, 2 starting quarterbacks. Now they're gonna like they said Russ is the starter no matter what, but man, what's it going to take to put Justin Fields out there? And they're paying both of them nothing.
Yeah.
So I think the Steelers got a good situation on their hands, just depending on how those guys play. But goodness gracious, when we were waiting to see what happened to Justin Fields, I don't think anybody would have guessed the Steelers because they already signed Russ. We're like, okay, they're taken care of. I was thinking Minnesota might take him, but then, just a whole bunch of stuff. So much stuff happened while we were gone.
Oh, yeah. And more quarterback moves. Gardner Minshew goes from Indy to the Raiders. Kirk Cousins goes from Minnesota to Atlanta.
That shocked me.
That was a little surprising.
Because I thought Atlanta was going to be Justin Fields' destination for sure. I made a steak dinner bet with a Bears fan about that, and we were both wrong. He's like, no, the Bears are going to keep Fields. I'm like, no, he's going to Atlanta. We were both wrong.
Wow. Let's see. Marcus Mariota went from the Eagles to the Commanders. Sam Darnold goes from the 49ers to the Vikings. And Mac Jones of the Patriots he was traded, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was traded,
That's right. Traded to the Jaguars for a 2024 draft pick.
Yeah, well, so much movement.
All these moves. And a lot of these guys, Marcus Mariota, Kenny Pickett, Justin Fields, these were the young quarterbacks taken high in the draft that were supposed to be the quarterback of the future for all these teams, and they never worked out for whatever reason, whether the team didn't give them enough time, or was too impatient, or they got rose-colored glasses on for some of the new quarterbacks coming out this year. So they're probably going to pick high, a high quarterback pick again this year. I don't know, but it just seems really strange that you pick a guy really high, a 1st or 2nd round pick in the draft, and all of a sudden, a couple of years later, he's not good enough. Next up.
All right, then I'm going to rapid fire some other ones, including the ones you got there on your list there. Eagles running back DeAndre Swift went to the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I had that on my list.
Yep, that's why I started there. Former Cowboys running back Tony Pollard went to the Titans. Gabe Davis, wide receiver for the Bills, went to the Jags. You had running back Josh Jacobs of the Raiders went to the Green Bay Packers. Then you had Green Bay Packers running back Aaron Jones released, and then he signed with the Minnesota Vikings. Eagles the Giants lost Saquon Barkley, who was signed by the Philadelphia Eagles. So they lose Swift and they gain Saquon Barkley, one of the best running backs in the league. Stays in their division, so that's a scary situation. Yeah. Let's see. The Commanders signed running back Austin Eckler from the Chargers. That was a big move. The Bengals released Joe Mixon, who I believe was signed by the Texans. Let's see. There's some more as I'm scrolling through here. Darnell Mooney, the wide receiver for the Bears, got signed by the Falcons. Derrick Henry going to the Baltimore Ravens. What a fit that is.
Yeah, that surprised me too. That was the other one I had on my list.
Yeah. The Eagles got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson from the Lions signed. He only had a 1-year deal in Detroit and then went back to Philadelphia. Right. Jameis Winston is going to the Cleveland Browns. Baker Mayfield did sign that contract extension. That was one thing we didn't have in there. Jimmy Garoppolo was released by the Raiders and then signed by the Los Angeles Rams. The Chargers, in a bunch of cap moves, they released wide receiver Mike Williams, and they traded wide receiver Keenan Allen to the Chicago Bears. The Colts ended up signing Joe Flacco after a heck of a season he had. Let's see. The Cardinals traded for Falcons quarterback Desmond Ridder to be one of their backups. Sam Howell went in a big trade from the Commanders out to Seattle. They got a lot for him. It was really surprising, especially considering how much teams got rid of for Justin Fields, which was nothing. I felt like they traded more for a Sam Howell. Let's see. Marquise Brown, wide receiver for the Cardinals, is being signed by the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think am I almost done with all these transactions? I'm like scrolling up. It looks like Chase Young, who was traded midseason from the Commanders to the 49ers, has signed a 1-year deal with the New Orleans Saints. I feel like that's one of the bigger ones. Joshua Dobbs, remember him this year? The spaceman that everybody was talking about, the quarterback up in Minnesota. Josh Dobbs.
Oh, yeah.
He got signed by the San Francisco 49ers. And
rocket scientist.
Yeah. And the Broncos at one point traded Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver, to the Cleveland Browns, and the Browns did sign an extension with him today, a 3-year extension worth up to $58 million and a $41 million guaranteed. So Jerry Jeudy leaving and getting paid. So I think that is everything as I scroll through the NFL's Instagram, everything.
I didn't want to get into everything.
There was so much. I just figured we could breeze through that.
Yeah. But yeah, just so many moves.
There was a
lot. Big name players going from one team to another. It's going to look totally different this fall when teams take the field.
It's like
you're not going to know anybody.
I know you've never played Madden, but it's essentially like playing Madden and just like randomly being like, oh, I'm going to try to pick up these superstars for my team, and you do it just because it's a video game. It's what it seems like out there. So it's just this might be one of the craziest off seasons. I feel like we say that every couple of years, but this one actually might be. There was a lot of big name dudes that just moved teams and teams swapping quarterbacks. Just unbelievable. And then we still haven't even gotten to the draft. That'll be a whole other thing of craziness.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. All right, let's move on to some college news. College football adopts a 5+7 format for the 12-team playoff system that begins this season. The number of teams could grow to 14 within the next few years. So this is what kills me. They just settled on the 12-team format, and already they're talking about expanding it to 14 because a lot of people want to see a 14 team. So it would be a 5+9 format. But I mean, it makes sense. You've got your 5 Power 5 conferences, so each of their champions will automatically get bids, and then the rest, that stupid committee can pick anybody they want to fill out the other 7 spots.
Yeah, because the Pac-12 conference or Pac-10 or whatever they were, it only has 2 teams,
right?
And they'll still operate. So they kind of also, can we make it a 5-7 so we can still get in maybe?
Yeah.
Shut up, Pac-12. You don't even deserve to be a conference anymore.
Well, they may rebuild, but who knows?
They're dead.
It's somewhere down the line.
Move on and bury them.
Yeah. Let's see. EA Sports has finalized its NIL agreement for their college football video game. Players who opt in to be featured in the game will receive, get this, $600 and a free copy of the game. That sounds like nothing.
It does sound like nothing, but at the same time, that game's worth about $60, so you're getting about $660 worth of value. I mean, I don't know. Look, I think for a lot of these guys, it's just, I think the
notoriety,
being in the game itself is cool enough.
Sure.
And taking $600 extra bucks. I mean, all these guys can still make more money.
Oh, they are making more money on their individual.
Yeah, so I don't know how I feel. Until I hear a bunch of players say this ain't enough. And we see how much, especially this first game, this game's going to break some records sales-wise, I think, for EA Sports. So maybe these guys will be like, wow, we signed a terrible contract for only $600. They probably could have gotten away with over $1,000 a player. I don't know. We'll see.
But 11,000 players are given the opportunity to opt into the game. But one person who did not opt into the game, quarterback Arch Manning.
Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, there's going to be people who are just going to input his name anyway. You can customize a player. You can put him in the game. You might not get his face, but people go get around it.
Whatever. And I didn't really hear why he said he didn't opt in.
He's a backup.
Well, I don't think he it's not the money. I don't think.
I don't know.
He gave a lot of money to some charity or hospital.
We talked about that
kids hospital. But so the $600 was not an issue. I don't think it was. Well, you're not paying me enough. So that wasn't it. But they never really said why he didn't opt in. But yeah, he's. There've been a few others, but he's the biggest name I think that said no thanks. I don't need to.
And like I said, look, no matter what, fans, if they really want to put Arch Manning in the game, they're gonna do it themselves. Sure. So that's what I don't get. It's like, look, you might as well just say yes, get your picture in the game, and make your fans happy. But at the same time, I get it. It's your name. It's your likeness. You can do with it what you want. Yeah. So I can't begrudge him too much. All I know is I wasn't going to play as Arch Manning anyway in that game. So
Our last story in college news, the University of Massachusetts will become the 13th member of the Mid-America Conference in 2025. They actually played in the MAC from 2012 to 2015, and this leaves Notre Dame and Connecticut as the only two independent teams left in FBS college football. So all this talk about the 5+7 format and the college football playoffs, they have agreements with all the leagues plus Notre Dame. So, Notre Dame is still getting special treatment because they're an independent team. They're not being forced into a conference, so they're going to make adjustments so that if Notre Dame has a good season, they can get them in there because, the Notre Dame fans will follow them.
Did BYU become part of a conference? Because they were the other independent that I always...
I think so. The article I read just said that the Connecticut and Notre Dame were the only two left when UMass,
Yeah.
who was also independent, signed with our conference here in Kalamazoo, the Mid-American Conference. Let's see, there was a little bit of CFL news that I just saw yesterday for the first time. The Ottawa Red Blacks will be celebrating their first 10 seasons this year with a special logo, special uniforms, and several special events throughout the season. They started in 2014, and so they've played 10 seasons now, and they're talking about coming up with a list of the 10 greatest players, or what do they call it? The team of the decade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, announcing a team of the decade for their first 10 years as the Red Blacks. Before that, the teams in Ottawa were the Ottawa Renegades and the Ottawa Rough Riders. The Rough Riders, I think, were around for over 100 years, and then the Renegades came around for 4 or 5 years, and it looks like the Red Blacks are here to stay, and it's good. I like the Red Blacks.
I do too. Like I was going to say, one of my favorite stories about the Red Blacks is we went to a Red Blacks Tiger Cats game.
Yep.
And we got to see an interaction between some Red Blacks fans and some Tiger Cats fans. And I'll always remember the guy, Tiger Cats fan, going, "Hey, why don't you go back to Ottawa, eh?" And the Red Blacks fan was like, "Yeah, sure, as soon as this game's over, eh?" They didn't really say
that's Canadian trash talk for
but
you.
It was fun.
Everybody laughed.
Everybody had a good time.
Yep.
It was fun. And there was a lot of other passionate Red Blacks fans there, so they love that team. And, anytime I could see a fan base like that and just show that, they have a love for a team. Because we've seen a lot of teams over the years, and sometimes you see a good fan, even like Arena League, whatever league,
Yep.
you could tell like a fan base that like will keep a team around. And I feel like finally Ottawa got it right with the Red Blacks. Because they had the Rough Riders way back in the day that lasted a few decades. Lost them. They had the Renegades come back for a few years. Then they lost them. And I think now that the Red Blacks are there, they finally grabbed a hold on that team. The team won the Grey Cup in 2016. So they got at least one Grey Cup. That might be their only one. I'm not sure. I was like trying to figure out right now how many Grey Cups they've won. Yep, that's the only one, 2016. Okay. So, a team that's won a Grey Cup, and I like their tradition, that whole cutting what do they call that?
Wood cookies.
The wood cookies. They just built a really interesting culture in 10 years, and I think that's awesome. That's why, as the world of football, we try to appreciate as much as we can across the globe. And up in Canada, I think a lot of people don't know about a lot of those cool traditions up there.
Sure, yeah.
I'm all about that. So I like that logo, too, the kind of the double axes.
It kind of looks like a fireman's logo. It's got 2 axes, and it's got the 10 years.
We might have to start getting us some Red Blacks merch. I know I'm more of a Argonauts fan, as you kind of are too. But you like the Tiger Cats. We don't really have one allegiance up there in Canada, but I'd like to get some Red Blacks merch. 10 years, that's a big deal.
Yeah, of all the mini helmets that I've got, I do not have a Red Blacks mini helmet.
Hook us up, CFL fans, what up?
I would love to get one. I think I've seen them for sale online, but it's kind of hard to find them. But I've got like a Rough Riders.
Well, you're also your CFL helmets are starting to.
They are old.
They're old, and you weren't taking care of them properly, which is a mistake I will not make with my mini helmets.
Some of the stickers, the way they used to do it, they actually made a clear sticker with the logo on it that they plaster onto a helmet, and some of those are peeling off already.
Yeah,
but
we need to. Yeah, you just need to do a better job. Quite frankly.
Okay. Let's see. Arena Football League news. This was just announced last week. NFL Network will air over 30 live Arena Football League games beginning Saturday the 27th of April. That's going to feature the Orlando Predators at the Albany Firebirds at 8 p.m. following the NFL draft. So you can, as soon as you're done watching Mr. Irrelevant get picked, you can go right into staying on the NFL Network and watch an arena football game.
Well, I feel like we're going to get a lot of a lot of post-draft stuff, and then it'll lead into the NFL Network coverage of arena football. Look, this is a deal we've been waiting to hear.
Yep.
There's been a lot of fans out there griping and complaining and saying the arena leagues, fumbling this, and even I've been skeptical. I've been waiting for this to kind of come through, and here it is. We have a bunch of games. The only takeaway from this that I noticed was that one team is not getting an NFL Network game, and that's the Rapid City Marshals. Because they released like a graphic of all the team matchups, and I was like, okay, here we go. And the other interesting thing that kind of came out of this too was the Philadelphia Soul are going to play a few of their home games at the end of the year in New Jersey in an arena there. So, I mean, not a perfect situation, but I think, having that in place, and it's a place where they could at least bring in broadcast cameras for so we'll see how that works. I mean, I've been skeptical and a harsh critic of this arena league coming into existence. A lot of positive for me, and there's a lot of negative, but they're getting close, to kicking off, and they've gotten a little farther than maybe even I was starting to think they were going to get. So we'll see.
Yeah, what was it, 16 teams?
Yep.
That seemed awfully ambitious.
I think it was maybe a little too ambitious.
8 to 12, I think, would have been a better start, but they were determined to put 16 teams out there, and they've done it. They've got their TV partner. Schedules out there. Their uniforms are set. So,
well, are they? We haven't seen anything yet, but I'm sure they're getting ready to be released.
They've got they haven't shown them yet, but I think they have a contract with.
They have a contract with a provider. But so we'll see. We were a little over a month away. I think our next show next week will be a month and a day to the Arena Football League. We were trying to set up something with Mr. Capper over at Arena Fan, who's been putting I've been watching a lot of his stuff. He's been doing cover. Yeah, he does a great job. Very passionate about the Arena League. If you haven't checked out Arena Fan, go check out his stuff too. We can't, recommend that more. So I don't know. The Arena League's done a few things, including this next story coming up that made me super happy. Because, there's been a lot of negativity, a lot of doubt on this league, a lot of, also, you don't have this in here. Did you hear the story about the Green Bay Blizzard owner talking trash about the Arena League and then having it come out that all the Arena League stuff she said wasn't going to happen happened? It was so bizarre. It was so weird. I hadn't
heard that.
Yeah, like the Green Bay Blizzard owner from the IFL, the Indoor Football League, was like talking about how, because there's been some background story that I don't know all the info, but it's about the IFL and Arena League poaching players from each other, maybe venues, maybe. We don't know. There's a lot of messy stuff because the commissioner for the Arena League brought stuff up at the podium. Yep. Now you got this Green Bay Blizzard owner talking about some of this stuff too, and how, and I'm paraphrasing here, but essentially like, they don't really have a network contract and all of it's fallen through. Teams are backing out. And then like a day or two later, all this stuff's come out like, they got their network deal done, blah, blah, blah. And so kind of egg on her face. And I don't know, it's just this weird behind-the-scenes war between the IFL and AFL. I can't wait to see that book someday. I'm sure somebody's compiling all this stuff.
No, there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. There have been some hints about things happening. We don't know for sure.
I believe even like the IFL didn't post some of their rosters on their website because they kicked off this week, and we're going to talk some scores. But like they've been holding back their rosters so that the Arena League doesn't, like, I don't know. It's been a bunch of weird conspiracy theories. Yeah. I've never seen it. Like just following some of the arena forums, just like it's just crazy.
Yeah. Well, going back to the schedule, like I said, the first game on NFL Network is going to be Saturday night, April 27th.
April 27th, Predators at Firebirds, 8:00. Be there or be square. I'll be watching it.
Right. But all the other games that they're going to be broadcasting on NFL Network are going to be Thursday nights and Sunday nights.
I like that.
Sundays.
I like that. And then they said that the normal broadcast games will be streamed through their website, I believe. So I think that was the other part of it. So that'll be interesting to see how they handle that. I'm hoping their stream's good because they've partnered with a couple of providers that we've all been wondering, like, what's Humble exactly? So because I remember with Humble, they did that stream when they were doing the New York press conference, and that was kind of iffy at first. So maybe that's who they're going to stream through on their website. So we'll see.
Yeah, Thursday night. I wasn't too sure about the Thursday night games. Why do you need Thursday night games for arena football? But then I got thinking about it, and years ago, I don't know if it was NFL Network or who, but somebody did put a Thursday night football game on. And I remember it being so cool that on a Thursday night, I could lay down on the couch and I could fall asleep to an arena football game on a Thursday night, and I thought it was the greatest thing ever.
Well, now we've been
at the time.
oversaturated with
It has. It's been a bit
football every night.
oversaturated, but now I'm kind of looking forward to seeing some more Thursday night games and just breaking up your week a little bit. And all of a sudden, here's Thursday night. Here's some football in the middle of the summer, and I'm going to watch a game between a couple of teams that I'm either familiar with or I've never seen these teams before. That's what I'm
What I'm curious about is how will this league come across, especially with a lot of these super small market teams that like Rapid City, the Marshalls didn't get a game, so maybe their arena wasn't big enough for doing these. But then I'd like to see. I have to look it up. Like I'm sure they're going to be in Billings, Montana at one point, so we get to see that.
Yeah.
It'll be a matter of we'll actually be able to see, are they pulling in fans? I've had some criticism with some of their ticketing methods, but
well, I think if you get a small market team like that and they're going to be on national TV,
you think
the place will be packed.
Probably be packed. So we'll see. It'll be very interesting. I'll be trying to check out as much of that as I can this summer, so looking forward to it.
And the last story here in the Arena Football League news, Eli Gold is going to be the voice of the AFL's Nashville Cats in 2024. He was not brought back by the University of Alabama. This is great news. We love Eli Gold. We've been talking for years.
You got an Eli Gold tattoo on your butt.
How'd you see that?
He's the golden voice of the AFL, it says.
Yeah, I mean, he used to do like AF2 games. Yeah. When the AF2 started, he was doing those games. He's done some AFL games. He's just always had the perfect voice for arena football, and he's so passionate about it and knowledgeable. And now he's going to be the voice of the Nashville Cats, and I can't wait to hear him call a game.
But is that strictly radio, or is it maybe it'll be like for those streamed games? You have to watch a Nashville Cats game just to listen to him.
I don't know.
I have to figure out a way to listen to some because his voice was always, when I think back to like the 2001 season, especially the Arena Football League, when I remember watching so much on TNN. His voice, he was every week you hear Eli Gold,
game
of the week stuff. It was it does my heart good. That's hard to top, and personalities and voices, especially like that, are hard to come by in a league. And I think the Arena League had something special, and it's cool to see him back in the AFL.
Yes, absolutely.
Even if it is just with one team.
Yeah.
I would have preferred to have seen him maybe brought into the NFL Network, but I'm sure they're going to have their own crew of guys. Mm-hmm. But, hey, beggars can't be choosers. Alabama's loss.
I heard Ari Wolf's name bandied about for possible announcer.
He wasn't bad either.
He was very good, yes.
I'd even like to see him bring Cedric Bonner back.
Yeah, team him back up with Cedric.
He became a good one.
They were a great team together.
Yeah. Yep. And I'm trying to remember if there was another one. But, yeah, I think towards the end, Cedric Bonner and Ari Wolf were a couple of the better ones.
Absolutely.
I'd like to see, I know this is the long shot, and it probably won't happen because it's NFL Network, but I would like to see a Pat McAfee or something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
I know he's already with ESPN and all that, so they probably can't. But you see a lot of these guys jumping back and forth between networks, so I don't know. I'd like to see that. I'd even like to see like a Peter Schrager or who else? Maybe even that Kyle Brandt from Good Morning Football. Maybe, hey, now that they don't got Good Morning Football gigs, they're going to need
probably.
They're going to need gigs with the AFL. There you go.
There you go. Some UFL news. I was a little disappointed to hear this, in a way. United Football League announced that St. Louis will host the league championship game this year on June 16th. In the past, the USFL had their games in Canton, and I was hoping that the UFL would continue to host their games in Canton. St. Louis is a good spot. I mean, they have a great fan base. They'll pack that place for the UFL championship.
Oh yeah,
and we've been there. We went to St. Louis last year, so. It makes sense for this new league, but I was just a little disappointed that it wasn't Canton again.
I can see that, but I also think that maybe down the line then we could get a UFL championship game in Michigan at Ford Field.
There you go.
Because I feel like they might have one of the better attendances. Hard to say. If the Panthers are any good, I'm sure people. I think especially with the Lions being as good as they were, maybe that'll help with fans being hungry for spring football. And It'll just bring some Lions fans out to you know what, I'm going to go down to the Ford Field on Saturday night and go watch the Panthers play.
And pay a fifth of what I paid for Lions tickets to go sit in my same seat in the stadium
you paid 60,
with a dog.
You paid $60 a ticket because we're going to that first game at Ford Field.
I could have got them for 22.
Okay, so let's just go with what we paid. We paid $60 for that game, and we paid 800 something for that playoff.
That was a playoff game.
I don't care, but it's still a big difference in going to Ford Field. And I even somebody else I know from work went to Ford Field for a monster truck rally. And he's like, "This is probably the closest I'm going to get to the field at Ford Field to watch monster truck."
Well, when I was buying tickets, a lot of the tickets that I saw were about $22 a piece, and I thought, "Oh, that's a good price." And I'm looking all over the stadium, and they show you a graphic, of all the open seats, and all of a sudden I see these 2 seats right on the aisle, row 6. 50-yard line.
Oh boy!
Right behind the Panthers bench.
Randy.
And I said, "My God, they got our name on those 2 seats right there." And that's what I got. Those were the 2 seats.
Right on. Okay. Oh yeah, I forgot to bring you cash for that. My bad.
Yeah, right. You're not sorry.
I was going to pay. Good Lord, I'm not broke. Good Lord. But no,
look, working a lot over.
But I have. But look, very exciting. I think if you're going to pick a neutral site for this league, that's probably a good one. As much as we would have liked Canton, I think it makes sense to give it to who had the best attendance in the XFL, and St. Louis is that team and that city, and maybe next year it could be a Detroit or it could be a San Antonio or something. But
I think any one of the cities, they might just rotate it around to all the different cities to give everybody a chance. But Ford Field would be a great place for that too. Okay, National Arena League news. And this goes back quite a while. This was one of the first stories that happened right after we stopped broadcasting 4 weeks ago. The National Arena League has kicked out the Topeka Tropics and the North Texas Bulls within 2 days of each other, and about a month before the start of the 2024 season, leaving the NAL with only 6 teams instead of 8. But yeah, that was. The Topeka Tropics, I could maybe understand it. They were a really bad team. They only won a couple of games over 2 or 3 seasons. But I think it went more than, beyond just what their record was.
Right. And then the North Texas Bulls, weren't they like a brand new team that just kind of was getting built?
Yes. So I guess their infrastructure on both of those teams wasn't very good.
So I could see this with only 6 teams left in the NAL. We saw a lot of teams jump ship. They brought over some teams like the Omaha Beef. Was that one of the teams they brought over?
I forget which one.
I'm trying to look here because we have some scores from some of the games. But anyway, how the NAL seems like it'll be the next league that'll get absorbed by either the Arena League or the IFL. I think that'll be what happens next year. I'm going to call it now. I just don't. I've never been a big fan of the NAL, especially once they took the nets and brought the rebound nets.
Right.
That was especially when I didn't like them, but we'll see.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, and this story I just found today. High school news. I'm going to have a little trouble pronouncing this. I actually watched a video on how to pronounce this.
Good luck. I'm reading it right now, and I don't envy you.
Opelousas.
Hey, that's pretty good.
I think is how you pronounce
Opelousas.
it. Opelousas High School in Louisiana had their appeal denied by the Louisiana High School Athletic Association. They had their 2023 state title taken away from them when it was learned that they used an ineligible player last year.
Whoa.
Their head coach has also received a 1-year suspension. So
that's it. Give me more details. Like, who was ineligible?
I don't know. They didn't say that in the article that I read or the video that I saw. But one of their players was ineligible, and it's that if you use an ineligible player, they're going to make you do away with games. But this team won a state championship. And that's really got to hurt.
It does. My question would be, and I know this doesn't, the rules are rules, but there is a point where I'd be like, but that team still was good enough to win a championship. How integral was this one player?
Right.
Was he the starting quarterback?
Right.
Was he the defensive lineman that broke some?
At this point, I don't know.
Which we don't know. But
could have been a bench warmer.
If it was a bench warmer, I feel like come on. He sat the bench. He just wanted to be a part of the team. If that was the case, but we don't know. We're speculating. Yep. But that stinks. You hate to see any sort of title taken. I get the rules are rules. Sometimes I think these organizations are a little too gung-ho when it comes to their punishments. Like when the NCAA stripped Reggie Bush of his Heisman. It's like we all watched the season, we all watched him earn it. Like the post taking it back, like it just doesn't make sense to me. I think if you're gonna punish him, maybe make him do something else. You're taking a whole championship away from a team of high schoolers that they earned it. That's the other side of it's going to be is like maybe they feel like they earned it. Maybe that ineligible player wasn't a factor. Maybe he was. I don't know, but I don't know. That's got to suck to have something like that taken from you.
In the video that I watched from the local news station, one of the guys, I forget who he was, but he was saying that this team went through 4 of the best teams in the state to win a state title, and nobody's going to forget what they did this year. So yeah, it's one thing to have maybe 2 or 3 games that you won in a bad season get forfeited because you used an ineligible player, but I think their final record was like 11-4 after the whole season, and so they were obviously a really good team. And it sucks for the players, it sucks for the community and the parents, and just what a terrible thing to have happen.
I mean, unless you're a Hollywood producer and you got this story fall in your lap, like, well, let's turn this into a movie. Yeah. They beat a bunch of the best teams, and then they didn't even get the title.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, that stinks. I mean, but now we know where Cam Newton's been for the last few months, helping this high school team win a championship.
No, that's not right. All right, and here's the reason that we came back this week. I was actually going to stay out another week or two, but you said, no, we need to come back this week. Yeah. And the reason was because 3 indoor leagues started up this past weekend. So we have scores.
Yeah, we do.
Here it is, March 19th, and we have football scores to report. We're going to start in the Indoor Football League. This is week 1. The Arizona Rattlers defeated the Northern Arizona Wranglers 51-40 on Saturday night. And Sunday night, the Massachusetts Pirates defeated those Green Bay Blizzards you were just bad-mouthing a little while ago.
Yep.
44-40.
They deserve to lose that one. All right, then we have the AIF, the American Indoor Football League. I had to put a pause in there because it's not really.
It needs to have the word league in it, but it doesn't. American Indoor Football.
It was their week 1. They had one game, which saw the Columbus Lions, a team we've seen jump around many different leagues, defeat the Amarillo Venom 47-26.
Yeah. Now Columbus last year in the AIF or whatever league they were in, they were playing a bunch of nobodies.
Yeah.
But this year they have several legitimate teams. They redid that whole league, and I think that'll be a much more competitive league this year for the Columbus Lions, who are obviously the class of the league last year.
For sure.
And have been a really class team for many, many years, depending on what league they were in. And then some National Arena League scores. This was also week 1, I believe. On Friday night, it was the Sioux City Bandits over the Oklahoma Flying Aces, 37-24. And also on Friday night, the Carolina Cobras over the Idaho Northmen, 51-49. The Idaho Northmen, they've been around for a while, but they were in some really, Western Mountains League or something like that. But now they're in the National Arena League. And there were actually 4 other games played over the weekend, but they were all like exhibition games against non-league opponents. And I think one of them, the final score was 74-0. So wow. I'm not even going to report those scores. But these were the 2 league games that were played this past weekend, week 1. And it looks like next week it's all league games. So we'll go from there. And then you came up with scores from the Liga de Futbol Americano Profesional.
Or the LFA for short.
Right.
This is a league I've been wanting us to kind of get into. And the hardest part is translating some of the team names over. So we're going to do our best. And if anybody out there is more of an expert on the LFA, feel free to let us know how we can handle this a little bit better. So we kind of did a translation of a lot of these. Of the team names. So you had the Raptors who beat the Greyhounds 14-6. The Greyhounds, also known as the Galgos, I think is the name on the website. Mm-hmm. Then you had the Mexicans who beat the Kings 34-20. Mexicans is the Mexicas, I think was the team name. Yep. And then the Kings, I can't remember if that was... I just wrote down the translation. But then you had the Melters, and I did write their Spanish name, which was the Fundidores,
Foundries,
or the Foundries maybe, or Melters, according to Google Translate when it translated that whole website. They beat the Black Roosters, or the what was it, like the Negros Galos for Black Roosters?
I think so.
28-7, and then the Dinos beat the Bosses or the Jefes 7-6. So Look, I like following them on Instagram. Yeah, they always got their scores up. It's just hard to pronounce a lot of these team names. I did watch a little bit. They have a great YouTube channel. You can go watch all the live stream games. I'd recommend going out there and checking it out if you want to get your football fix as well. They're in week 3 of their season, so we'll probably start talking standings here at some point. I think they only play a 10-week season. Right. They have one of the best league championship trophies. I just know, like, going forward, we had some people write in and say, why don't you guys talk more about some of these other leagues? So we're going to try to make an effort. Meet us halfway here. We're trying. This is a league, new to us still.
A lot of it depends on their website and how fast how they get their scores out.
They're usually pretty good about that.
Yeah, some indoor leagues in the past we have not followed because their websites were trash. Their scores were way outdated.
Their social media was outdated.
Yes, they didn't do anything as far as social media. So if they don't do that, we're not going to cover them. But
the LFA does a pretty good job. Like I said, I love their Instagram. I always have stuff pop up from them. So, and I believe they might have a Twitter presence. I'm not sure. But yeah, they're a great little league. We wanted to start including them. And then in May, of course, we're going to get the European League of Football, which is another league that we haven't really focused on, but we're going to try to incorporate this year. So we're trying, everybody.
Yeah, we may not cover every score every week if they have quite a few, but we'll do a few scores from everybody.
Yeah,
we'll try.
And I'm going to try, if I find time, I know it's been really hard lately, I'm going to try to sit down and watch a little bit here and there. Like I took a picture, I sent it to you that I was watching one of those games. I think it was the first weekend of play, and it was the Dinos and I can't remember if it was the Dinos and the Raptors might have been playing week 1, but yeah, seemed like a decent broadcast,
Okay.
So,
okay.
All in Spanish, so I didn't understand a word.
Well, that's when you do it with the sound off, so you could just
just have it on in the background.
Yeah. Well, the NFL's got that NFL Deportes. It seems like they would have an English.
Well, on YouTube, I don't know if you can have different commentary tracks like that. I don't know if YouTube's built for that or not. But like between them, the IFL, the European League of Football does a lot of stuff through YouTube. So I think that's a good hub for a lot of these leagues and for a lot of fans to connect and watch. Because I think when I was watching, there was a nice little live stream going of people commenting on the game as it was going. So they got a fan base, and I'm anxious to kind of follow them a little closer this year than normal. So
but the live stream comments were all in Spanish also, so you couldn't read any.
Essentially, yeah. I think I wrote, I only speak English.
And good thing you couldn't read the responses that people said. Okay, today's birthdays. March 19th, Chiefs head coach Andy Reid turned 66 years old today.
Wow.
He started out as an assistant coach with the Packers from 92 to 98. He was the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles from 99 to 2012, and he's been the Chiefs head coach from 2013 to present. He's won 3 Super Bowls with the Chiefs, and I love his commercials with Patrick Mahomes for State Farm Insurance. Yep. God, he's so funny. He's got such a deadpan delivery.
It's been so his evolution just as a personality from like when he was with Philly. I remember him just kind of, I don't know, not being a wet blanket, but I never was really a fan of him when he was with Philly. But then when he got out to Kansas City, it seemed like it finally kind of opened him up. He was kind of free to do whatever, and now here he is. He's winning Super Bowls. He's having fun. Maybe that helps.
Yeah.
But and I think in such a short span, in a football years, I feel like 10 years is a short span for a coach.
For a coach, maybe, yeah.
I mean, or at least for the long-term coach. Because you'll have coaches in and out in 2 or 3 years. But Andy Reid, in 10 years in Kansas City, has quickly become a Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah.
I mean, even with the Eagles, he was a pretty good coach, had a very good record. Put a lot of winning teams out there.
Right.
But, man, what he's done in Kansas City has been a masterclass.
Having Patrick Mahomes helps.
Having him helps. But, I mean, to even think to pick him, because nobody knew who Patrick Mahomes was when they drafted him. Right. Everybody was like, who's that? Right. Number 15 overall? What? Like, and here he is, one of the greatest players to ever play the game. So, Andy Reid is going to go down as one of the greatest coaches in history. So,
happy birthday, Andy Reid.
Get a cheeseburger.
All right. I got a couple of obituaries. This is where we take a moment and honor those who've made the world of football a better place. And the first one is Chris Mortensen, who we mentioned earlier. He's passed away at the age of 72. Mortensen joined ESPN in 1991 and was a regular contributor to the network's NFL coverage and on SportsCenter. Mortensen was diagnosed with stage 4 throat cancer in January of 2016 and stepped away from his role at ESPN last year. Before coming to ESPN, Mortensen wrote for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution from 1983 to 1990. He covered the Atlanta Falcons, the MLB Atlanta Braves, as well as the NFL. Mortensen also was a columnist for The Sporting News. He was a contributor to Sport Magazine, and a consultant with CBS Sports NFL Today program in 1990. He began his journalism career at the South Bay, California Daily Breeze in 1969. He won a National Headliner Award for investigative reporting in all categories in 1978. He received 18 awards in journalism and was nominated for 2 Pulitzer Prizes in his career. He also was the author of the book Playing for Keeps: How One Man Stopped the Mob from Sinking Its Hooks into Pro Football. Mortensen was a native of Torrance, California. He attended El Camino College before serving 2 years in the Army. I did not know that he wrote a book. I did not know that he was up for 2 Pulitzer Prizes. I learned so much in this article about him after he died. But I always liked Chris Mortensen.
Yeah.
He was such a professional and such a good guy.
It sucked when ESPN brought Adam Schefter over, because it felt like that essentially slowly diminished Chris Mortensen's role with the company. I always felt like I saw him less and less, even though like they would show him and Schefter on together. It just felt like we saw less and less of Mortensen, which sucked. But it does stink, and it's that weird like what's the phrase? It's sad, but it's nice that when somebody passes, you learn all this stuff, all this unique stuff. It's bittersweet. That's the word I was looking for. It's so bittersweet because like it sucks he passed, but then you learn all this interesting stuff. Like, how did I never know that he wrote a book? Right. How did I never know that he was up for 2 Pulitzer Prizes? Like, there's this very fascinating individual that I only saw on weekends watching NFL Sunday Countdown or watching ESPN, who, when he was on, he did great reporting. He always did great work, great voice. He carried himself really well, and there's just so much to, just to these people that we see on our TV screens, especially, that there were more. These were actual legit journalists working for ESPN, not just a talking head talking about your favorite sports team.
Right, yeah. I may have to get this book.
You might have. As soon as I saw that title, I was like, this sounds like your type of book.
Who was that guy that tried to get his hooks in the NFL? Now I want to hear about this story.
About the mob and football. You're mixing The Godfather with Rudy. Like, Rudy's college football, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. All right, moving on to our second and final obituary of this week. Doug Blevins, a kicking coach in high school, college, and the NFL, has passed away at the age of 60. Blevins was born with cerebral palsy, but that did not stop him from coaching football. He became the NFL's first handicapped coach in 1994 when he worked for the New York Jets. From 1995 to 2000, he was the kicking coordinator for NFL Europe, and then several seasons coaching for the Miami Dolphins, Minnesota Vikings, New England Patriots. He then worked with numerous NFL kickers, including Justin Tucker, Adam Vinatieri, Olindo Marr, and David Akers throughout his career. Blevins also coached at East Tennessee State University in 2021 and 2022. So,
Olindo
Marr, that's right. I was like, the name looks familiar, but I don't know how to pronounce all that. Olindo Marr, yep.
And again, Doug Blevins, I'd never really heard of him either.
Yeah.
Yet he coached for 4 different NFL teams.
Coached all these great kickers.
Yeah. Why is he not more widely known to everybody? Right. When I read his obituary, I thought, this is a story that people need to know about.
Yeah. And also to have that type of, ailment, cerebral palsy is, no joke.
Right.
But you see a lot of great people who persevere and fight through that and make the most of this is one of those cases where he did not let that stop him from doing what he loved. And, it stinks. We lost him, but got to admire that type of, tenacity and that type of just willingness to overcome your, ailments and things that you're kind of dealt that you have no control over and making the best of it. And look what happened, a great career, influencing several NFL, a couple of them are Hall of Fame kickers.
Right.
So,
kicking coordinator for the entire NFL Europe.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
So just an unbelievable story that I just felt was deserving of being told here.
Nothing sucks more than seeing resumes for people who pass, and you're just like, wow, you were just, at the time, we didn't know.
Yep.
We watched NFL Europe, we didn't know who the kicking coordinator was for that whole league. But clearly now looking back, like we know that guy had a hand in a league that we liked because we loved it. I loved NFL Europe. So, it just stinks. Like I said, it's that bittersweet thing. Same with Chris Mortensen.
Right. Yep. All right. Finally today, upcoming events calendar. Saturday, March 30th, UFL season kicks off with the Birmingham Stallions at the Arlington Renegades, and also that day, the St. Louis Battlehawks at the Michigan Panthers. We will be at that game.
Yeah.
And let's see, Thursday, April 25th through the 27th, NFL Draft in Detroit. We're planning to go there on Saturday.
Yeah, you signed up
I did.
Just you?
For just me.
Okay, so I have to do that too.
And I also posted the
link to it. I saw you do
another article today, yeah. And it does say something about an app that you can download, so I'll probably do that.
Yeah, we're going to try. As long as the weather holds up, we're going to try to go to that third day in Detroit just to see what it's all about.
If the weather's decent, I mean, if it's raining or tornado or whatever, we're not going to make the 2-hour drive over there. But if it's a decent day, we'll be there.
Yeah, we'll give it a shot.
Yep. Also on Saturday, April 27th, the 33rd Arena Football League season begins. Orlando Predators at the Albany Firebirds at 8 o'clock that night.
That should be okay. I know it's been years, and they're not the same teams that we saw growing up, but just those two names alone for arena football fans, I don't think you could have made a better matchup for coming back. A rematch of Arena Bowl 14. I can't wait to see that old Firebirds logo on display. Hopefully the uniforms, when they all come out, they aren't blasphemous and like go up against everything I've ever loved about the Arena League. Same with the Predators. I think the Predators have stuck pretty close to the look we've remembered them for years. Looking forward to it. And it's your first broadcast as this Arena Football League. This game's going to matter a lot. So you're getting your two marquee franchises out there.
Yep.
You got in Albany, which I think is one of the best environments in arena football. So I think the Arena League is going to have to win a lot of people over with this game. So
yeah, I want to see some shots outside the stadium where they're going to have these.
Oh, they're going to be tailgating it up.
These wanted posters that says it has a picture of Antonio Brown and says, "Do not let this man in the building."
Should we jump on that? Should we just make those now? Like we could sell them. We could probably sell them to all these Albany fans if they aren't already made.
I'm sure they're already making those. Probably. Let's see. Also on Saturday, April 27th, the Women's Football Alliance season begins.
Oh, yeah.
So more football that day also. Tuesday, April 30th, the CFL Draft takes place up in Toronto. Now, don't get your hopes up. It's not like the NFL Draft. It's a conference call that's originated from league headquarters in Toronto to all the other teams.
They can at least live stream it. I just want to see a bunch of Canadian guys on the phone. Hey, do you want to trade the first pick, eh? No, we're going to take so-and-so from Saskatoon, eh? That's what I want.
You're not going to get
I want it, though. So bad.
Friday, May 24th, European League of American Football begins its season.
Just European League of Football. There's
European
no
League of Football.
But yeah, they play American-style football. They got a lot of the old franchise names from NFL Europe, like there's a Frankfurt Galaxy. Yeah. And they kind of, not to be too much of a curmudgeon there, ELFA or ELF. You're stealing a lot of NFL-looking logos. Like one team kind of looks like the Minnesota Vikings. Just saying. One team kind of looks like the Carolina Panthers. Just saying. One team might look like the Baltimore Ravens a little bit. Just saying. But they do have the Frankfurt Galaxy. They got a Barcelona Dragons, a Ryan Fire. I think a couple other ones. They got a Frankfurt Sea Devils.
It was a Hamburg Sea
Devils. Sea Devil. That's what and I was looking at some of their merch, and I actually might have to pick a team and get some merch from their website. Same with the LFA. I just have to hunker down and pick a team.
I kind of like the Frankfurt Galaxy.
I've always loved the Frankfurt Galaxy.
But I don't think they have the same helmet anymore.
Probably not. And the logo's slightly different. It's still the Galaxy, but it's not the same. Yeah. It's just not the same.
London Monarchs was my team.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're playing now. I think it's all like Germany and some of those other countries.
Yeah.
Let's see. Finally, August 1st, the Pro Football Hall of Fame game in Canton.
You skipped June 6th.
Oh, yeah, June 6th.
Oh, yeah. Oh, what do you mean? Oh, yeah.
Thursday, June 6th, the CFL regular season begins.
Yes, can't wait for some CFL football.
Yeah, and we're actually looking to go to a game in Toronto this year in June. So
and maybe more.
Well, I don't know about that.
Oh, come on. Hold on. That's the other thing we got to take care of, by the way. Our passports.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I got the paperwork all filled out.
Okay, cool. Yep, let's figure that out.
Okay. And let's see. So August 1st, Pro Football Hall of Fame game in Canton. They haven't announced a matchup yet, but that's probably coming here pretty soon.
Man, I'm trying to remember a lot of the Hall of Famers they announced, and I usually base who the two teams are based on at least one of those guys because they always do something like they
Chiefs and Lions.
Oh God, I don't know. I don't know who. Like I said, I have to see the list of the inductees because that'll tell you.
Yeah.
So.
And finally, on our events calendar, Saturday, August 3rd, the enshrinement ceremonies at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I believe that's everything.
That's it. We did it. We returned. We did a show. Little bumpy, getting back on the podcast and horse, so to speak. But
yeah, I mean it's we're talking about changing the format a little bit on how we do things, but we'll work that out in the next week.
I mean, if anybody's listening, what do you think? Should we stick with we do all the scores at the top and then we go into the news? I've been kind of leaning towards maybe us doing it more like league by league. We jump around the world of football. We go from the NFL, whether it be news and scores, to all these different leagues, all around, and we can cover any news stories and the scores all in one section. Maybe people don't have a preference. I don't know. We like to change up. We've kind of had the same format for a while, so
you don't mess with what works,
I guess. I mean, I'm a big proponent of that, but at the same time, I'm also like, I think it can be done a little better.
We're open to change.
Are we though?
If it makes sense.
Says the man who's not open to change.
I hate change. You know that. You've seen it in person. I do not like change.
I tried to give him change for a $5 bill, and he would not take it.
Okay. Well, that's all the time we've got for this week. If you learned something during this podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we have done our job. Visit our website at theworldoffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, original articles, videos, and more. Our email address is info@theworldoffootball.com.
You can follow The World of Football on Facebook, X, and Instagram, where the address for all three of those is TWOF Kalamazoo. New episodes of this podcast are posted on Tuesdays and are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast to hear us on whatever Alexa devices you may have. You can also find the full audio version of this show on our YouTube channel. Just search The World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle in the search bar at The World of Football. So please spread the word, subscribe, rate, review, give us a like, leave us a comment on any of those platforms, any of those social medias. Let us know what you think, and please come be a part of the football conversation because we keep getting stuff on some of our old videos. People, coming across us. We just had discovering us. We had somebody who was a Detroit Drive fan in the Arena League comment on one of our Arena Football videos. Yep. So. It's always fun, and I always try to, if I beat you to responding to comments, I always try to interact with everybody and, thank them for checking us out. Because, I mean, we have so much fun doing it, and we're just glad that people enjoy what we do. So,
Yep, absolutely. And remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than the two of us sitting here in Kalamazoo. Until next time, when we'll try and do a better job. Yeah, right. I'm Randy Snow.
And I'm Adam Snow.
And we'll see you all again next week.